If you clicked on the video, it's because you want to be able to add a character into any environment, making it interact with it, and all of that while having it be properly integrated with its surroundings. So let's see how to do that. You can add a person to your environment super easily in different ways. The easiest one is to go to Inpaint Sketch, import your background, and paint a blob where you would like it to be. Make sure that the blob is big enough. Use a denoising strength from 0.8 to 1. Generate and you are done. Probably you will want to control the pose of the character. For this, we will create a controlnet reference. I will go over to the Open Pose Editor extension, use my background as a reference, and pose this rig until it fits what I wanted. Now I will save as PNG and import this into controlnet with Open Pose. You might want to redo your mask to match the pose better. And that's it, you have the character. Even after upscaling, we will have some work to do, which we will see in the most important and last step. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because this was a super easy example and should not satisfy you if you want good results. In most cases, there will be 4 problems that we will solve, and 2 of them will be taken care in the first step. Let's say I wanted to add someone in this room, for example, sitting in the sofa. How big should that person be in relation to the scene? Well, that brings us to the first issue, scale. Good news is that this gets solved automatically when you create your controlnet reference. Most of the time, if you have a scale issue, it might as well be a skill issue, because it's something you make an educated guess on. The best tip I can give you is that you focus on the nearby assets and then try to think about how tall your character would be compared to those. This gets a bit harder when you combine scale with our second issue though, perspective and lens distortion. If I were to use the same size I used for the sitting character, for a person that's standing close to the camera, it would feel very out of place. Quick tip time! To match perspective of an image, you will extend the lines naturally created by the objects in it. This will get you the vanishing points. With this, I could find the correct proportion for the character, like putting it next to the car, then placing the pivot on the vanishing point and scaling from there with Shift plus Alt. But this doesn't help much in our room example, because of the camera lens. You could try to guess the open pose position, but this can be pretty hard to get right. So I will use Pose My Art for this. I'll try to replicate this room in 3D, using PureRef to have the image as a reference. This will help me match the angle of the camera. Remember to also play with the field of view to match the camera lens distortion. Once you feel like it matches the original good enough, and there's no need to be super precise here, you can use the character and scale it so it has the correct proportions. If PureRef is bothering you, Ctrl-T makes it invisible to the mouse. Now I can move the character wherever I want in the image with the right camera lens and perspective. You can save the camera position, pose the character and export your depth map. In my case, I exaggerated the camera lens a lot, making the character way larger than it should. Artistic choice, I guess. Sometimes you will need to match the horizon line too, like in this example we will use later. With this, you should have no more issues with the scale or perspective. If you really need to match a scene with absolute precision, you can use F-Spy with Blender. Another way would be to remove the lens distortion using Photoshop. For the actual inpainting part, I'll be using controlnet inpaint, as I feel like it does a better job at keeping the original background consistent. You can use one wait and one ending step. If you have an open pose model, like for the dude in the sofa, import it and use a high weight too. And make sure that your reference is clear in cases where the character will be small. On the inpainting model, I usually just mask by eye, but you could also create a mask in Photoshop and import it later. Remember to mask the floor though, characters cast a shadow. Now we prompt and input the aspect ratio. I will use high-res fix to upscale, which is another huge benefit of using controlnet inpainting in text-to-image. It might take a few tries to get a good result. You can disable high-res until you find a generation that you like, freeze the seat and activate it again once you do. You can see that the lighting is already pretty decent in this case. Of course, the shadow could be better, but I will leave that for a later step. First, I will change the open pose model for my depth map and generate the character close to the camera. And I will use this example to show you how to fix the next issue, lighting. I will go to Photoshop and transform the original image to black and white. You could also use the Recolor Lightness preprocessor. You could use these steps to create the shadows too, by the way. Now I will use this as a controlnet reference, and use the brightness controlnet model. I like to use something around 0.55 weight and 0.8 ending step, getting us better lighting results overall. We can also try again now with our sofa guy and its shadow. This controlnet allows us to control the values a bit better, which can be used to control the lighting. Values used for this will vary a bit though. Sometimes you will need to lower the weight a lot more. To add characters that get caught by this scene, like someone sitting inside this restaurant, the process is pretty much the same. Create an open pose reference and use inpainting controlnet model. But make sure that you don't mask the table parts that aren't absolutely necessary. If you will have an arm over the table, then mask only for the needed space. If a part of your open pose reference won't be visible, don't mask it either. Now just prompt, generate and enjoy. Okay, that's cool and all, but how do you make the characters interact with the environment, like in the example where she cuts the waterfall with her hand, or someone breaking the floor? This has a bit of a trick to it, so I will be working on this image and showing you the full process until it is finished, including the last and crucial step, and a bit of a funny story around that. I will import my controlnet inpaint, and since this is a complex pose, I will use a controlnet depth map for it too. After playing with the prompt and parameters, I landed on this. But even if I prompted for him to break the ground, it doesn't really matter. To do that, I will bring the image into inpaint sketch. This is where most of the magic happens, and it is my favorite part of the process. With this, we are able to make our character cut aside a waterfall, add complex shapes, and even other stuff. In here, we paint the shapes of what could be the ground breaking, with some rocks flying out and away. I will use the canvas zoom extension to take colors from the background. You could also do this in Photoshop and then use regular inpainting or uploading a mask. Once you finish this sketch, prompt for what you want. I will use a mask blur of 1 and 0.9 or 1 as the noising strength. It is very high because we will also activate controlnet tile. This is a key part that will allow us to maintain the shapes drawn, but adding detail inside them. If you want to maintain the shape more, use a higher ending step. Now it's time to generate a bunch of images with different prompts and playing with our values. You can also retouch your sketch if you need to, of course. The goal is not to have a perfect generation, but a bunch of images that have cool parts. And then, in Photoshop, we will import all the images we like and combine the best parts of each to create a better overall scene. There is no need for this to be perfect, because to improve this, we will use a very cool trick that I came across in a pretty funny way. We will import this mixed image to controlnet and use the Instruct P2P model. For those of you who don't know, this is basically a model that tries to replicate your initial image, but changing it based on an order that you give it. Like, for example, make it snowy. I was pretty tired of looking for ways to mix everything together, so as a joke I just inputted my image into this model and told it, make it a masterpiece. And it kinda worked. It doesn't really make it much better at the moment, but that's why, aside from this, we will also use a tile model. Apart from that, also add a bit of context to the prompt about what is happening in the image. And the prompt matters a lot too, by the way. And now your job will be to find the perfect balance where the tile model will try to maintain the original input image and IP2P will try to modify it. Using lower weights on IP2P will make the image change more. So play with the ending steps of the models. I also like playing with the CFG scale, which I'll use 9 in this case. For this image, I really liked 0.65 ending step on tile with 0.8 weight, and for IP2P I will use 1 weight and 0.85 ending step. Then I will activate After Detailer for a better face and use high-res fix to upscale the image, giving us this result right here. The problem is that we lost a bit of the original background, so let's go back to Photoshop. Yes, I added the shoulder pads after this, and I should have done it before, but whatever. I will also import the original environment here. All you need to do is mask the parts you want to add. In my case, I want to leave some destruction on the part where the man is, but none on the background. And with this you would be done, unless you want some tricks to make it better. The colors on the new image are a bit off, so I will use a match color adjustment to fix that very easily. Much better. Something else you need to know is that your character will be affected by indirect lighting. This is the light that reflects from objects that are near it and bounces into him. So I will add a tiny bit of color from his surroundings like so. If he had a stronger color palette, this would also be applicable in reverse. Then, using some brushes, I will add dust and particles. I will also add motion blur to the rocks, and maybe a bit to the character. I could also add a Gaussian blur to the background. Finally, I will add a filter to make everything more homogeneous, and here we have our final image. If you're interested on how to create consistent environments, now that you know how to reuse them, you can click on this video. I hope this was helpful. See ya!